everybody, just getting some links up as usual. Well, that's weird. There we are. All right. Hey, Eli's here. How you doing, man? Good to see you. I think I figured it out now. Post a link here. All right, we've got some cool stuff to look at tonight, and I might do a little bit of drawing as well. So, a couple reminders here in a second. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes for folks to show up. Now that my links are up, take a sip of my water here. How you been, Eli? I still feel like my audio is loud. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. If it's ever too quiet, though, let me know. All right. It's been a long day, guys. I am very tired. One of those days when you're a parent, I don't know how many guys out there are parents, but when you're a parent, some days you never really wake up. You're just kind of asleep for the whole day. And that's kind of how my day felt today. It felt like I was sleeping the whole day. But I'm here now, and I got some cool stuff to talk about. So, if you folks aren't on my newsletter, you definitely want to be on there. If you go to tyrellcannon.com, you can sign up. I announced to my newsletter subscribers earlier today that the original art dropped for the Schlub 5 and 6, so the last 2 issues of Schlub art has dropped. I also announced that the Schlub trade paperbacks are now available on my website, as well as these Alien Hadley's Hope prints. I will also have all that stuff at C2E2 this weekend. I'll be in Artist Alley, table V2. I hope you guys will come by. There's going to be a cool Schlub panel as well with myself and Ryan Stegman and Kenny Porter. So I hope you guys can make it out to the show. And if you can't, you can buy these posters and the Schlub trade paperback on my website right now. There's a link in the video, the down there stuff. The description of the video. The other thing I'm going to hopefully show you guys tonight, I've been working a little bit on some of this Deleter manga paper. And it's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool. It's a different scale. It's A4. And I've been doing some zips on it. I've been doing some inks on it. And I'm just kind of playing around with it with some character designs I'm working on. So maybe I'll show kind of this paper tonight a little bit and do maybe a little bit of a character design after we look at some books. All right, let's see. Eli, it's going good over here. Just heard there are going to be some cool comic books in my local play for comic book day. Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, definitely. Showing your work to other artists, idea. Some artists are better than others at actually giving you good feedback, but it's always good to show your stuff to as many people as possible. Oh my gosh, and I'm already getting this book filthy. Let's put down a piece of paper behind it here. Okay, so using pages lately. Yeah, they're interesting. I'm not sure. We're gonna see how I use them. Cool. So first thing I wanted to show off here is the new book by my friend Derick Jone. Derick Jone, there's a link to his website also in the description. Derick is a buddy of mine that currently lives here in Chicago, not for much longer, unfortunately, by way of Philly, and he makes cool comics. I met Derick I started following Derick ages ago on Tumblr. Scuds Inc. was his Tumblr, and he still kind of goes by Scuds. And I think that years after that, after I kind of wasn't using Tumblr, I don't know if he followed me or I followed him on Instagram, and we kind of met that way again. And then he moved to Chicago, and we started hanging out. And he's a good dude, and he makes amazing work. This Nosebleed comic is crazy. If you're a fan, if you can't tell by the cover, it's crazy. If you're a fan of things like Akira or Domu, but also a fan of things like Black Hole or Love and Rockets, I think you're going to dig this. This is definitely a vibe where it feels adjacent to manga style plots and storylines, but with sort of a little more of a spotted blacks and solid lines that feel a little more Charles Burnsy. And it's full of cool gore, amazing paneling. It's all black and white with gray tone. And Derick has really done an amazing job on this. Everything from the panel layouts to the figure drawing to the balance of light and dark. I mean, look at this. Look at this page, man. That is so cool. The way it goes from sort of showing shapes in negative to positive. The subtle use of the gray tone to just create a mid-ground and separate these characters that are all in white. Man, it's cool stuff. I was really impressed with this. I knew Derick's work, obviously, because I know him, but when he showed me this all together, and I was like, wow, this really turned out, like, especially on paper, it really turned out great. So I highly recommend. I'm not going to spoil it all for you, but it is full of just incredible illustrations, really great sequences, the expressions of the characters, the expressions of their body language. It's all really, really well done, and it's a really cool story too. Even got a quote from the old Jessica Abel on there. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking out Nosebleed from Derick Jone. It is on his website right now, I believe. You can buy it there, and I'm sure he'll probably be at some shows. I don't think he's at C2E2. I could be wrong, but if he's ever at a show near you, go see him. But Nosebleed, Reptile House Comics, Derick Jone. Link in the bio there, or the description there. Where did I put this? I'll put this right over here. Okay. Running out of room in the studio, getting ready for C2E2. So, Eli, yes, those panel layouts are very great, very great. So what we have here, folks, is the just sort of released Wolverine Weapon X Barry Windsor Smith black and white edition. So this is an official Marvel release, but it's only in, I think this is Dutch or something like that. And so I was able to get it through Stuart Ing Books, and I couldn't believe. I sometimes I don't understand Marvel in the U.S. Like how was this not put out in English? Like, I know personally probably 15 people that bought it, and that's just people that I know. So that's a pretty high percentage of people that are into comics that bought this. But hey, who cares? I've got a copy. I got it from Stuart Ing, and it just arrived, and boy, oh boy, whoo, buddy. If you have never read Weapon X, this will be very spoilery, I guess, but if you haven't, you're crazy. You need to read it right now. If you have read it, you know that it's one of the greatest, not just one of the greatest Wolverine comics ever, but like one of the greatest comics that's ever been. I think that, I was first exposed to it via ads in Marvel Comics Presents, and then I had caught some of it back then as a kid, but it kind of wasn't something I discovered until I was a little bit older, and it blew me away and really just kind of expanded my mind as to what superhero comics could be, especially, but even just comics in general. There's been a lot of discussion about how the coloring was done on the book, and how it's good, bad, and how a lot of the reprints have been very bad at translating the coloring. I am a huge fan of the coloring in Weapon X. I think Barry Windsor Smith did an amazing job coloring it. But I don't think it's been printed correctly since it was originally printed. The original printing is probably as close to how it should look as possible. And, all that to say, I guess, is that, as much as I appreciate the colors, the fact that they haven't been reproduced very well, it's just another reason that I wanted to have this in black and white. So this is all in another language, Dutch, I guess, or German, I don't know, Dutch. But that's okay because I already own this in like every other format that they put it out in. I didn't buy this oversized edition that came out in America that was in color, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But like I would, because I didn't think that it added much as far as like content or printing quality. But this is different because it's black and white. You can't mess up the colors. And so what it looks like they did is take the print files from the other edition. So I don't think most of the book here is not original art. And most of it is the whatever the scanned or photostated, the photoed line art was that they used in that reproduction with the color. There is some original art in the back, which I'll flip through in a minute. But as I'm going through this, I should keep talking. But in any case, seeing it in black and white has been a revelation for me. I've only looked at this maybe once since I got it last week. And so right now I'm still looking at it with fresh eyes is probably why I'm sort of amazed. In any case, what I was getting to is just like that. When I saw this announced, I was very excited because, an oversized edition that didn't have the color problems that the other reprints had, and, bonus, it's in black and white. It's like, great, I'll take it. And it's oversized. And so, looking through it, it was hard for me to imagine it without color, and the color does so much work in it. But man, this black and white, it's all here. It's all here in the black and white. And I guess I should have known that. But man, oh man, this reads almost as good in black and white. I mean, you lose a little bit of the mood, and there's, I think, details and accents that he did with the color that are really nice. But all of the lights and darks and stuff, that's all in the line art in this book. It's all in the inks. There's, he's not using the color to model the way a lot of us do now in like modern coloring. And that's because the drawing is so well rendered, whether it be through hatching or brushed ink lines or, areas of solid black to really form the characters, that the flat colors really work better on it. Whereas a lot of stuff nowadays, you're not going to have as much of that modeling in the line art, if I'm going to generalize here, which I know is not a good thing to do, but if I'm going to generalize, the line art's usually going to be a little bit cleaner, and you're going to have, the color do a lot of that. And on this, I mean, seeing in black and white, you can tell. I mean, you can see all the drawing and all the volume and all the lighting and everything is done here in the line art. I should have pulled out, I'll pull out in a minute, I'll pull out one of the color versions I have. But man, to see some of this stuff a little bit larger scale and really get a sense of what he was doing with hatching and really get a sense of some of the different line weights, and you're able to, even though these aren't the original art scans, these are some sort of adjusted, black inks, they still show, the hand at work on the inks. You can still see some of the pen movement and stuff just by virtue of it being, bigger. But man, look at this. That's just epic, man. The way he creates depth with so many techniques right here, right? He's got a character here in the foreground that's got a delicate outline. And then the midground, you have Wolverine in this dramatic pose with this dramatic lighting on him. And he uses hatching of different types to create multiple layers even within that part of the drawing. So you got the fist up here in the front, single layer hatching. As you get back into the body, you got multiple layers of hatching into blackness here. And then to separate him from the background, instead of having a black fill or a white fill, he has this sort of like almost abstract just technology, right? That's all around him because they're in this science lab. And so you have all these vertical and horizontal lines playing against all of the beautiful curves of his body and of the hair that's coming here in these chords. And man, oh man, if that's not the way to make a drawing work, I don't know what is. That's really fantastic stuff. Weapon X, I think, is a perfect example of what happens when you have a cool character that's a property that a company really cares about, but they let an artist or a writer, a creator, sort of just do something really interesting with them that that it transcends the sort of status quo of what the character is capable of as far as storytelling. And this is a great example of that. I don't know why they don't do it more, because it's weird, because every time you do hand over the keys to a creator and give them a lot of leeway, you get stuff like this. You get Weapon X, you get Dark Knight Returns, you get you get all these books. You get Daredevil. You get these books that by Frank Miller. You get these books that just stand the test of time and become kind of evergreen products. Instead, we tend to not get the opportunity to do that. I always loved the drawing of the forearms here, pulling at these cords as he's sort of thrashing around, and the claws are starting to pop out. One of the first times the claws have popped out. There's so much storytelling just in the way he draws the arms and hands here, right? There's the actual motion that they're in. There's the sort of constraints of these cords wrapped around him, squeezing them in sort of unnatural ways. And you have apologies there. You have all this great hatching to give volume to the arms, and just this sort of tight shot that just zooms in a tiny bit, panel center for the shucked. And that's interesting too. He's using shucked here, right? Not snicked. I probably shouldn't go through every single page of this, but I will try to hit some spots. This one was always creeped me out too. That's fantastic stuff. Yeah, absolutely, Eli. I agree. This story works great with just inks. Just some gnarly faces. People like to poke fun at Barry for his coloring in his faces, and I think, they're wrong about the coloring. Anybody who doesn't see that he's like a master of color is, I don't know, beyond help to me. But then the other thing is that he does these kind of weird faces, and it's when he started drawing these weird faces that his work really got good. I think people forget that. Like, he was doing good stuff in Conan, and but it was a little stiff, and it didn't have sort of the sort of great balance of design and illustration and storytelling. But once he sort of settled on these sort of wide-eyed, round-lipped, small nose faces, I guess he draws some noses bigger. It's like that was a revelation in a way, of somehow connected to the other revelation, because around that time is when he started doing the later this stuff, the later X-Men stuff, and kind of came back to comics after a short break, I believe. Every time the claws pop out in this book, you feel it. You really feel it. It's not just a thing he does. It's this like torture that he has to go through. So this is really amazing. It's a master course here. You don't need to, I like to do fancy, kind of flashy paneling sometimes with my stuff, but there's something to be said for just the simplicity. There's a lot of complexity in the simplicity of what he does here, The decision of a long panel, there's a lot of things that does. It changes the way you're reading the image, right? You're going across it, and it breaks up your speed going down. So it tends to kind of slow you down in some ways, but also create a sense of stillness. And then to have that with just a triptych here that is very matter-of-factly, step by step by step, so you have this like silent moment that's lasting, and then you sort of cut this scene, right? So this would be sort of like a slow pan or something if you were going to compare it to cinema, which we shouldn't always do, and this would be sort of like an edited sequence. It's just full of images like this. I've heard that maybe tracking down all the original art for this would be very difficult, and that's maybe why there hasn't been an official artist edition, is that I don't know if it sounds to me, from what I've heard through the grapevine, that maybe either the person who has a lot of the art isn't willing to participate, and or a lot of the art no one knows who has it, and so there's not enough to justify a full artist edition. There are, and I'll show you in a little bit, there are some scans in the back of original art, though, in this edition, which is worth it. This is awesome, too. He uses this, it's like speed lines in a way in the shadow here. And so he's casting this shadow down onto these guys, and they pop out from it with the shapes of their armor having these like ridges on them, and then cross-hatching that goes in the opposite direction. This is really a great page, and this great thing here. I think a lot of artists right now, myself included, learned from this. I can see me in this. Like, I can see this influencing me. I can see it influencing someone like a James Herron. I can see it influencing someone like Daniel Warren Johnson. I can see it influencing people like Ryan Stegman big time, like big time. This is like one of those images that, man, it's good. And seeing it in black and white again is just amazing. Because even in the original version, it was printed on the newsprint, which I like the colors in. The problem with that is that when you do get into some of the dark areas, it gets real muddy. And then also the quality of the line work on those is not as good. So it's like if you buy the original versions of the Marvel Comics Presents, that's actually probably the best the colors are going to look. But you're going to have a hard time finding a copy that has very crisp line art like the way this does, right? The line art gets real muddy in some of those older books because of the newsprint. But the colors look better because they were planned for newsprint. So it's sort of a, it's like it's almost best to get all the versions like I have. Get the black and white, get the updated color. The last time they released it in color, the mistake they keep making is putting it on white paper. It's like, just don't put it on white paper. This image is crazy. You have hatch lines, in each figure, and they sort of go against this big sort of, not even hatch, but scribble circular shape behind him. Even the word balloon placement, he did work with a letterer, but I mean, there's so much thought put into sort of how the words play through the image. One thing I've talked about before, I should check with the chat here. BMC Comics, hey man, his coloring is amazing. You know it. Newsprint really skews it. Yep. A few of the DC Unwrapped books, pencil ink only version of it. I don't have any of those ones. That sounds cool. In any case, what I was saying on here, God, this page is great. Man, look at that face. On here is that, what was I saying? Oh, I talk a lot about how I feel like sometimes, a tricky thing when you're working across a whole team to make comics, the way a lot of mainstream books are created, you have a writer, you have a penciler and inker sometimes, or a penciler, inker, a colorist, and a letterer. And, it's great. You get a lot of great results out of that. But what I don't like is when it feels like someone isn't sort of in step, and especially with the lettering. I think sometimes lettering can kind of just be stuck on top of the page as a whole. And I don't like it when lettering breaks the panel border unless it's with a purpose. And I think that Barry Windsor Smith in general is good at thinking about that stuff. And he must have planned it, in a lot of these cases. So, it's okay to go across here because that actually leads you into this image, which carries you up to these word balloons and then back down to here and then over here, right? So you got this like dance that goes on. And I think that when you put the word balloons on top of panel borders without a reason, like if you just do it all the time willy-nilly, it sort of makes it seem like the imagery is in the background, and it also fights against the pacing that the artist is trying to do with the panel layouts, right? So this book is actually a great example, so I can't show you a bad example right now, but these stacked figures, I always liked ones like this. I've tried to do this in some of my comics to varying degrees of success. Here, let's skip around a little bit so I'm not just ruining the whole thing. Oh, well, I got to show this page. I think this image is in this book 5 or 6 times, because it is sort of the iconic one. If you want to see a real butchered job on colors, the cover of one of the trade paperbacks is a recolor of this image, because in the comic, this image is colored in a sort of a like a red light. It's sort of all one color scene, like one light source. And then the reprint cover, they colored it like he's like skin tone, and they're all like brown and green, and it's just some lights back here. Oh man, sorry to the colors to that, but you blew it. It's not good. But yeah, so I mean, this book is amazing. If you don't know it already, you got to go get it. Pick it up in any format, but I would strongly recommend, if you get one of the trade reprints, to also pick up, if you can, the original newsprint printings. Man, this little sequence too of him turning his head into the close-up. I'm stealing that for sure. I'm stealing that on this next thing I'm working on. That's real nice. Oh. It's just like you get closer to him as he turns his head. Man, that's cool. I'll also have to show you some other goodies in here. But let's see a couple more images. Oh man, this stuff is great. Ugh, it's so great. You know, this is a masterclass not just in comics and storytelling, but he's just an illustrator that has all the tools, man. You know, his ability to render different types of things and represent them in ways that are interesting, from trees to fences to snow to blood to animals. It's really amazing stuff. The Larry Hama afterword or whatever is actually really good if you get in the English edition. Now here's where things get weird, and this is why I think that this German edition, and this is just me guessing, I think that this was just, I think over wherever this was made, Denmark, Germany, I don't know, I should probably know. I should just look at it. What is it? What does it say in a language I'll understand here? Dutch, sorry, yes. So, is that because some of this stuff in the back, the quality is really low, like it's not high res, and then there's images repeated, that the only reason they're repeated is because in the regular edition of this that came out in the United States that was in color, some of these back materials are in color. So it's almost like they just took the whole thing from like the Marvel office that was like the black and white parts, and then they said just take the color out and just printed it just like that. But on some of these images, like this one, it seems like it to me, and some of the other ones, it seems like they pulled the color out of an image that they only had a file that was colored, if that makes sense. Like they tried to suck the blacks out of a color drawing, and it looks terrible. I mean, it looks awful. I can't believe that the quality control was so bad on some of this. Like, these are not print quality images here, right? It's cool to see this because this is a story that, I mean, it's not the best, but it's like, you know, it's not one I've seen very much of. But I don't, again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this was a problem from the beginning. Maybe the artist's scan was bad or something. But it sure looks like they just sucked some color out of a drawing. And then same thing here. Like you have this image from the cover of X-Men, and they repeat it again later, and it's all messed up. It's from the recolor, and I think that they just pulled it out of a recolor that had a bunch of color holds and stuff on it. But it also has, this book also has X-Men, 205, the Wolverine Lady Deathstrike fight, which is another just insane thing to see in color. You'd think that it was, you know, because it's so dense with the snow, that I thought that it wouldn't make any sense in black and white. But again, I was surprised how well this stuff read in black and white, even with the snowstorm going on. If you've never seen this issue, it's fantastic. You can usually pick it up fairly cheap. It's also in the Essential X-Men collection in black and white, if you can find that Volume 6 Essential X-Men collection. Let's see here. Okay, didn't miss anything here. But this Lady Deathstrike fight is so cool. This face right here is insane. It's so wrong, but I love it. You know, I wish I could do something like that. I want to just have the balls to just like, look at this. It's like, this is completely wrong, but darn does it look insane, and it's so perfect for this moment where he sort of loses his mind and goes whatever berserker style. So they have a bunch of like other art in here in the back, sketchbook stuff, and some covers. Some are good, some are not. They got the Weapon X covers, which all look great. This one's a personal favorite of mine. The rendering on these trees up here, and the way like a tree in the foreground is also adding to sort of the tone up here in the background that creates this depth. Really cool. But yeah, I mean, it's art you've seen, but it's oversized, and you know, these all are printed great, right? But then here's this image again. But you do have scans back here in the back of some of the pages. You can see the you know, the blue lines and Barry's signature on the pages and that stuff. So, I mean, I think this is a fantastic book. I will look at this for years and years and years. This is a masterclass in comics. You don't get much better for superhero comics. You don't get much better than Weapon X. I'll tell you that. So yeah, look at this. This is insane. Like, what is this? Like, what? Who said okay, print this? Like, what? This is a mess. This is a Sam Keith drawing, and this was the first thing I saw from Weapon X. I bought an issue of Wolverine, Marvel Comics Presents Wolverine, drawn by Sam Keith, and it had this pinup in the back. I think it had a green color, and it was like a I was like, what is this? And they said, oh, it's the Weapon X, the Weapon X story that's going on right now. And, this image blew me away. And so I had to find out more about it. And then I saw the Barry Windsor Smith art. And as a kid, I was like, well, this is better. It's got more lines, I mean, Sam Keith is great too, don't get me wrong. But I think I like Barry Windsor Smith a little better than Sam Keith now. They're both fantastic though. And here again, you've got like a lot of repeated imagery. And it's supposed to be the dust cover and covers of the different books. And I believe in the other version, these parts are in color. Because we've seen all these images already in the book in black and white. So there's no reason for them to be here other than just curiosity, I guess. This is like a 150 DPI scan. This is awful. I don't know how that got in here. BMC Comics. I love that issue. I was so glad when I found it. I also have the Daredevil single issue did. That is a good one. I don't have that one. I need to get it. This drawing is nuts. It looks like a Jason Pearson drawing, or like almost a little Magnolia-ish with these fat, areas of black and stuff. This is from 2001. And it's nuts. I didn't think I could ever see Barry draw exactly like that. That was cool. And then these Deadpool ones or whatever. Not a lot of heart in them, unfortunately. And then you got the end pages again are that. And then on the back, I've probably ruined it. They got a nice spot varnish on the cover images, and you kind of see that shininess there just on the figures. It's pretty cool. I think this is a great book. But get Weapon X in any form you can. So you know what, y'all? I'm going to do a quick character sketch, and then that'll be my night. I have C2E2 this weekend, and I have so much to do between now and then. So I'm going to make it probably not a super long night, but I do want to try out this manga paper. I've been working on it a little bit, and I'm going to show you guys. So here's the paper. It's called The Leader is the brand. And I've been goofing off on it with some character designs for a project that is a secret project still. But I can show you some of these just because I can. Character design sheets. And so this paper is a lot thinner than Bristol, so it's been a little different to work on. But it does hold the ink really well, and I've tried different kinds of pens on it. I haven't used a dip pen on it yet. I have a feeling that'll work great because this doesn't, the paper really soaks up the ink but doesn't bleed too much. It bleeds a little more than the Bristol, but not a lot. And then it holds the zips really well, which doesn't surprise me. So I've just been doing some explorations on this of different sort of landscapes and stuff, and some different character designs for this project. And I'm working on some revisions right now. So I'm going to just draw this character and show you guys kind of some of this paper. So I'm trying to decide which one I want to do. I've got an old man. I kind of want to do this guy because he's the only one I actually had to redesign. You probably can't see, but this is, I originally did this design, the roughs for this design, I say roughs, it's pretty detailed, on my iPad and then printed it onto this. So you can kind of see it here. But if it looks like I'm just like drawing really perfectly right away, it's not that. I'm just going over the blue lines that I drew 8,000 times on the iPad. So we'll hit it with some pencil first. But I'm going to go to inks pretty quick because these are drawings that I already did once and I just needed to change some aspects of the characters. And the only reason I printed them out again is just because I'm kind of having fun working on this and sort of getting a feel for the style I want to have for these. Because it's a little different than what I've been doing. It's going to be awesome, but it's not going to look like, say, the Schlub. It's going to be a little bit more toned down, I guess, from like superhero. It's a little more real world based. But those are fun challenges too. You get to do a lot more with sort of subtleties of the characters, like what their face shapes are, and sort of what kind of clothing they wear, and how that can vary. Whereas with the superheroes, you're focused on slightly different things, just as fun, but in a different way. The other reason I was trying out this manga paper was that it's smaller, than 11 by 17, and I've been trying to, I don't know, simplify a little bit more, and trying to, I love doing detailed stuff, but I also want to find ways that I can sort of expand my skill set a little bit, and so I've been wanting to be a little bit, slightly more efficient, I guess is the word. And I thought, if I draw smaller, maybe that'll help me to not just get lost in the details all the time. Not the details aren't fun and aren't cool, and I do appreciate that, and I plan to still do that a lot with projects, but just something to help me kind of gain a little bit of efficiency would be nice, and not just for time for me, but more for storytelling purposes. Like if I can lose some of the accoutrements, I can maybe be it's like making your race car as light as possible. Sometimes it's fun to try that rather than the muscle car route, which I do enjoy, which is just make it have more power, even if it's big and cumbersome and all these other things. So this guy, I had originally drawn him. He didn't have a mustache. The writer I'm working with said he preferred him with a mustache, and so I was like, well, I'm going to give him like a real good mustache then. Make him kind of have this big mustache. The project is based in the turn of the century, like the late 1800s, early 1900s, in kind of in the Caucasus Mountains. We sort of are using that as a basis for the world we're building. I'm not going to say too much more than that, but just to give you a sense, it is sort of a historical piece in the sense that it's in a different time and place. And so the characters just look different, right? Like people looked different at different times, right? You look at a picture of people from the 1970s, they're going to be wearing different clothes, have different hairstyles. And if it's a different country, different place, you really want to play that up in the actual character design, so that people you can try to evoke that time period. And let me tell you, I say all this like I know what I'm doing, but I am still trying to figure out how to do that. Like I don't know if I'm getting it yet, but that's the challenge, right? It's fun to give yourself new challenges with projects if you can, instead of doing the same thing all the time. I don't want to be a boring creator that's just like, I've been drawing the same character for 50 years. I mean, there's respect for that too, but I would get bored, I guess is what I'm saying. So like right now, I'm drawing this face so much smaller than I normally draw faces. So I'm really trying to strip it down to its essentials and give it, a shape and everything still, and still have a realism to it, but imply a little more than render, right? So implying things with less lines rather than describing them with more. It's like two different ways of drawing. You can evoke things, and you can also like describe things, and right now I'm trying to go in a little more of an evocative kind of direction with this. And I don't know if it's working, but I am having fun trying. So that's important. This guy is I think he's like a police chief, like a secret police chief of the secret Russian police, to give you sort of a sense of what kind of story it is. And one thing I'm still not sure about is I want to find drawing long coats can be tricky, and I look at a lot of the historical reference, and what's interesting is just that the material was like heavier or something, because you look at the coats and they're very stiff, but like for a book you don't want it to feel too stiff, right? And so it's like finding that balance is tough. DC Unwrapped books. So I wonder what they've released in that thing of that issue. So glad when I found. Yeah, we already see that. So once I get the ink on these, you'll see them a little better. I know it's hard on the camera sometimes, but right now I've gone through I don't know how many passes in the digital phase to kind of get sort of some ideas here. And then the trick too, when I get to paper, then is to try to strip it down yet another level, so that it's you're losing a little bit more of the unnecessary things, and you're playing up the things that really are the key factors in sort of the description of it, if that makes any sense at all. You can't always do this many passes on things, but I had like a week where I was waiting for some script stuff to happen and things like next steps. And I could do character designs for like 3 or 4. For the schlub, I did character designs for like a month before I started pages. And of course, they always change a little bit after that, but it's nice to have a solid something to start with, so that when you're trying to draw the pages, you're not just worrying about the characters, like, and what they look like. You can really focus on the storytelling. So I think we're going to try to ink these two. And another little challenge I've been giving myself is I've been drawing these smaller, but I'm also trying to ink a lot of it with my brush pen, even though it's pretty small. But then, you know, seeing if I can get some more delicate lines in there still too. So here, we're going to go through this. Wish me some luck. If it goes well, you know, I might throw some zips on it. I don't know. I am running out. Yeah, I need to. I've been trying to work on just sort of how I want my fabric to look, because this is. I'm so used to drawing, you know, my last 2 projects. You know, Eris 3, which I'm just about finished with right now, and Schlub was just a lot of muscled humans, right? Especially dudes, right? And so it was a lot of drawing the figure, which is its own challenge, but it wasn't as much of drawing people with big clothes on. So this has been another thing I'm trying to find my way in is you know, how do I want to treat clothing? You know, what can I do that's cool and interesting with it, but also sort of, again, efficient. So I haven't completely figured it out yet, but like that right there, I don't really love. I think I want this to feel more like a stiff, round arm there. So I need to remember, though, to leave a little bit of room for this other types of lines here. I don't know if any of my metal heads are out there, but it's been a pretty good week for metal. We got a new High on Fire record, which rips. Love it. If you haven't checked them out, definitely do. We also got a new Bong Ripper record, which I love Bong Ripper. They're especially good to draw to, just instrumental doom metal. Their new record is amazing. And then I think it's, what is it, like another week or so, there's a new... I'm spacing on the name right now. There's so many good records coming out, I guess. Oh, Paul Bearer has a new record coming out. So I've been jamming a lot of that stuff lately. The new High on Fire is really good music to work out to, or, you know, get kind of pumped. Okay, yeah. Here we go. There he is. This is Vladimir, is his name. And I'm thinking of him as kind of a stern fellow, but also intelligent in his cautiousness, is sort of the way I'm thinking of him as a character as I'm designing him. He doesn't take chances, but he doesn't take any, you know, crap from anybody either, you know. We'll see if that's what the writers have in mind. But as I'm designing him, that's sort of how I'm thinking of him, to give him sort of a feeling of the way he is. I've been doing such big bold lines that I forgot that these brushes are actually pretty good you know, they can do delicate stuff too. These Pentel brushes, they really are a fantastic tool. I do not have a paid sponsorship with them. I wish I did, but this is just my opinions. Oh yeah, see? That's the kind of action I want now. Just a little kind of implied hair, right? Instead of rendering it out. And I'm kind of liking a little bit of angularness to the characters, even if they're a kind of a heavier character like him, giving some sharpness to it. That's something I'd like to carry over. These are hard people in the story. I feel like they're very like, you know, they're in hard situations, right? So giving them sort of a bit of fortitude in their look. It's been nice, this simplification stuff, to just sort of challenge myself, like, can I do this thing in one less pen stroke or one less shape than I would have before, and sort of leave it there. This might be too inside baseball, though. I don't know if anybody notices on the outside, really, but these are the things I think about, if you've ever wondered. A lot of slicked back hair on this guy here, but he's a little bit older. I see him as maybe in his 50s, maybe, so he's got some gray in there is what I was thinking. I think he looks pretty cool. Let's see, I'm getting in the weeds here. I need to let it go. There we go. Okay, let's fill this. Another reminder for folks, I am at C2E2 this weekend. If you are at the show, come say hi. If you're not, that's okay. I'll tell you all about it on the next stream. I'll tell you how it went. But I'm pretty excited. I have a lot of friends in town that I'm excited to see, and it's my first show since the Schlub has come out. It's the first show I've done since the Schlub came out. So I had no Schlubs at my last show, and now I've done a whole comic, and so I'm excited to kind of talk to people about it and see if people liked it, and, you know, show them what else I got. It's always fun to talk to people about the work and meet people. It's one of the cool things about the comic scene, honestly, is that you can just kind of go talk to people at shows and really just get some insight and learn more. Yeah, this guy's cool. Let's do a little bit of pen work. Not too much, but just a little bit to fill in some just, you know, a little bit of texture, a little bit of detail, just to imply that there's more than there is. These little buttons, the edge of his coat here. Little stuff. Over here, we're gonna get the top of his kind of brown eyelid. This eyelid. Maybe his mustache a little sharper there. And let's give him an accent on this collar here. He's a little fancy, not super fancy. He's a working fancy, you know. And there we go. Now I don't know. Do I have zips? Let me see if maybe I'll just do a quick zip. I don't know. Let me just see if I have a good one here. I used so many already. I need to make an order, and I've just been waiting till after C2E2 to do it. And now I am like all out of everything. What do I got here? Oh, here we go. This might work. Let's try that and this. All right, do a little zip tones here. So yeah, just trying to, again, simplify, and I think it's going all right. Get some of these pencils out of here. If anything, you know, I am loving doing the brush. I guess I don't mind that it's a little crumblier. It gives it some texture. I do like that. Anyway, keep thinking about it. All right, what's gonna fit this guy? That could work. And then this could work. Let's just do that. Let's not overthink it. I just wish I had more shelf space for it, right? Okay, we'll do that. Actually, okay. My blade is probably super dull right now. I was cutting sticker sheets for C2E2, so it's like probably not going to cooperate very good. And I don't feel like changing it right now, so you know, as you can see, it's not working. There we go. Come on now. Come on now. One thing though is with doing zips on this is that I was doing it with a sharp blade, and this paper is pretty thin, so you got to be a little more careful if you're going to cut deep into it. I'm sure if you do it enough, you kind of get a sense for how hard to push, but at first it might be a little jarring. You might be like, whoa, I just cut the paper in half. Because as soon as you're off the film, you're going to be putting an indentation on there. And if you mess up erasing like I do all the time and you fold it, it's going to hold a fold too. This paper is very thin and that does kind of annoy me. I bought the ones that have, sorry, I should get this out of my mouth. I bought the ones that have these guides on them, and just because I kind of wanted to see what they looked like. But I don't like the guides. It's all these measurements. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how useful that is, but you know, maybe I'll change my tune. But I usually like to print my own template when I do it. So I think I might. They do sell a version without the, you know, these. You can see it, but these like guides printed on it. It is nice to have the printing guides of, like, you know, trim lines and stuff. But that's what I usually print on my own. And I used to be crazy about measuring out my grids like to the millimeter, like, and having them match on different pages and stuff. And I kind of don't want to go down that path again. I don't want to go down that dark path again. I just want to, you know, I mean, I'll make sure things are straight and stuff, but I don't want to like start measuring again. That was a different time. It was a different Tyrell. Oh man, this is really dull. Okay, now let's get something on his face here. Watched Late Night with the Devil the other night. I had been sort of looking forward to it. I know there was a lot of stuff about the AI on that illustration, but I don't, other than that image, I don't know that there was other AI in the movie. It was kind of an interesting flick. I would recommend checking it out if you're into horror movies. It's different. Oh, come on. This is driving me crazy. I'm gonna have to do it, ain't I? This blade is no bueno. Okay, let's try that again. Alright, tough guy. Okay. I mean, and he does look a little bit like Wilford Brimley, but, you know, I love Wilford Brimley, so I'm okay with that. Uncle Duvet. All right. Okay, let's get rid of most of the stash here. Oh boy. Oh yeah, man, I ruined this blade. Sorry, I have to change it, guys. Again, if I cut my finger open, please call 911 for me. I've told this story before. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I worked at an art school for a long time in the residence halls, and I have seen some very, very nasty X-Acto knife cuts, man. I mean, stuff that's just like, it's just gross. So I'm a little shell-shocked from that. Who would have thought putting 500 18-year-olds in a dorm with art-making materials would not cause some issues, right? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's a previous life. All right. This is going to feel good. Oh, yeah. There we go. Butter, baby. I need to actually get the deleter ones too, or they make special scratchers for these things, which, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to force myself to be a little more efficient, so I need to not overdo it on this render. With the zips and just let them kind of do some of the work. So you gotta find your spots, right? And I struggle with that, folks. It's a process. Oh, I don't like that. That needs something there. Just have to make his chin a little. So we're almost in the weeds here, so I'm gonna have to cut myself off. Because that's pretty nice, just like that. I don't think it needs much more, honestly. Let's see if I can get it better. There he is, folks, with Vladimir. All right, guys, I got to get some rest because I got C2E2 this weekend. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you haven't already, check out tyrell.com. Even if you're not going to buy stuff, go there, hang out, sign up for the mailing list. But there is original art up there of the Schlub 5 and 6. Issues 5 and 6 are now available on my website. So if you go over there, hey, maybe you want to buy a page. Even if you don't, you can look through them all and see what my original art looks like, you know. And I released the Aliens print, so go check that out as well. But you know, thank you all again for tuning in and spending time with me here at the drawing table, my happy place. Hope to see some of you at C2E2, and I hope to see all of you on my next stream. Have a great night.